This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow. Hello and welcome to the Out of Time Film Podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm John.
And this week we're talking about the third season of Invincible.
We didn't do season 2.
We didn't.
Which is strange for us because we absolutely loved the first season of Invincible. It was so refreshing. It was so interesting. And that was ages ago. That was 2021, I think?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 2021. So I fell in love with the whole Invincible story. So I got the first compendium and read further into the whole story Invincible. So I feel like we barely scratched the surface of the show. It's just very intense, insane. There were some insane moments for this particular season as well, which I enjoyed. But then again, it kind of felt for this season, it wasn't quite the same. It didn't feel like season 1, but I really enjoyed it. What about you?
I agree that it feels the most different. Just quickly, what did you think of season 2? How did you find it?
Season 2 was pretty good. I really enjoyed exploring Angstrom as a character. It was a great introduction to him, and then we get to introduce different dimensions, and that was very key to season 3. I really liked how Mark and Eve's dynamic started to evolve over season 2 and then into season 3. Oh yeah, and then the whole thing with Army Man, wow, that was my highlight for that, to explore that he went to a different planet and lived there and really thought about what he wanted to do exactly. The reason why I love Invincible is just these moments about conflict. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I quite enjoyed season 2. It's not as good as season 1. It certainly meanders to the point, but when it hits those points, the significant episodes I really enjoyed. I agree with you. I love the stuff with Angstrom Levy. So yeah, season 2, great. I'm not massively disappointed that we missed out on it.
That's a big thumbs up for me if anyone can see
it's
me.
It's a single one thumbs up. No one can see you. I'm the only one who can see you. Just let that sink in. Yeah. So season 3, there's a lot going on in this show, but centrally for Mark, this season is about him dealing with him murdering Angstrom Levy, trying to make it on his own as a hero, figuring out who to trust. All while the Guardians of the Globe have their own thing. Cecil has his own thing. Eve has her own thing. Mark's brother, Oliver, is also here, figuring out his own powers. You know, there's a lot going on in this show. And largely, it's still very engaging. It's still very exciting. I enjoy seeing all this. I've always loved how this show is so expansive. It feels like this world that we are kind of getting a look into, but there's so much more going on. It's so textured. From what I understand, it also goes like deeper than the comic as well. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, they've made a few changes, but they did go deeper than the comic because I know that the Invincible War was more from different perspectives, I think. I wish there was more time to develop that because that's a huge thing for Mark to understand about himself, but that's also a key thing for the future of Invincible. But I say yes, it does deeper. Yeah,
like I think it is really good that they have stuck to the comic and that we have Robert Kirkman working on this show and we get to expand upon it and keep it faithful. I mean, in this season, we have more going on than ever before. We've got stuff on Earth, we've got stuff extraterrestrially, we have relationships blooming with characters, we have old characters, we have new characters, and for me, this season has the same core issue as season 2, which is that there's a struggle with the middle portion of the season. So this season starts with a conflict between Cecil and the Guardians. The Guardians split up and we are put into question, what are Cecil's priorities? Mark massively questions that and the lengths that Cecil will go. There's a really great line where Cecil says something along the lines of, who do we want to be? Do we want to be the good guys or the guys who win? And I think that's really interesting as a concept because, sometimes in conflict, keep people safe, you do have to stick your fingers in the mud and do stuff that you're not proud of, but you do it for freedom.
Yeah.
And we kind of grapple with that. I really loved that whole thing. It was almost like Civil War-esque, heroes splitting up, and in the end of the season with Conquest, also really good. But I was less interested in the middle 4 or so episodes. I didn't dislike them, but we have this expansive world, but that also means there's a lot to catch up on. And so,
Yeah.
what I would consider the main thrust of the season with Mark and Cecil and Eve and the Grayson family, we kind of pause that and we explore Rex and Ray having a blossoming relationship, or the time travel plot line, or the Invincible War, or the stuff with Oliver. And again, none of it's bad, but it's just not quite as good. And I wasn't quite as engaged in that middle portion. It's all necessary, it's all interesting, but it just didn't quite hook me as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't centrally something going on around it. I mean, it was good to see the side characters. I think the quote was, "Who do we want to be, good guys or the guys who've saved the world?"
There
Yeah,
you
it's
go.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, nice.
it's that. So going with that, with Cecil, we do see him in the backstory of how much he's been through and how much he devotes himself to saving the world, but becomes very daunting, and there's a lot of consequences that come along with him. Like, he has a massive distrust since the start with Army Man. He knew a lot of things going into that. So he's a very complex character who does want to save the world, but he has to do some terrible things. There was the whole thing, two supervillains in the flashback,
Yeah.
with the gas that had deadly toxin. Cecil sacrificed himself to shut it. And then those two guys come back and save Cecil. And to him, it's like, why are we still having these people around? These are awful people. And he kills them. So again, it's like, what does he want to do for the future for that? I think that's so interesting for him. But again, that's all in the midst of what's going on in season
Mm.
3. There's so many things going on. That's one of the things that was interesting to me.
I really liked that because Cecil has been a massive part of the show, but to really hone in on him, and in the flashback, you see he goes from the naive person who does want to be the good guy to the person who understands what needs to be done. A big thing that Mark doesn't like about Cecil is that he takes in villains, people who have murdered, and will rehabilitate them and use them for his own gain. And I think Cecil does care about people. I believe he does care about Mark. He cares about Donald and Debbie and all that, but he will drop anyone if he needs to. He will keep any secret from them. He will harbor or even design a weapon that can kill them. And I thought that was all really interesting, just to see the lengths this guy will go to. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, to head up an organization like this, you got to be ruthless. And I like how it's not just Mark who thinks that this guy has the wrong priorities, but it also causes the Guardians to question that very same thing. And see, now, Shrinking Ray is an interesting character because in the first 2 seasons even, I just didn't really think much of her. She didn't do much. She had some cool action, but she wasn't really interesting to me. But then this season, for her to think to herself, listen, I have been being a superhero for so many years. I barely have ever had a chance to have a life. Should I do that? Is that even right? And for her and Rex to question the same thing and to dig into a little bit of both of them as people who have just been raised as heroes, as kind of killing machines in Cecil's eyes. Can they look the other way? Can they be just regular people? Do they deserve that? Very Spider-Man 2. I really enjoyed unpacking all of that. It felt, as with a lot of things this season, it didn't feel like a massive part of the season. I would have liked a little bit more, but it was interesting still.
Yeah, very interesting. Again, there's a lot of things that are happening for that. I mean, okay, so should we get into spoilers?
Oh yeah,
For
let's do
some of
it.
it?
I think it's a good season. I think the show is
Yeah.
worth still investing in.
Yeah, I agree. It
Yeah.
just feels a bit different from the others. I mean,
Mm.
not in a bad way, but it just feels like there was a lot of things going on and it just wasn't as impactful. Nothing can beat season 1 with that. So
Yeah.
the thing is with what's happening with Invincible is that there's a lot of fake out deaths. There's a lot of
Oh
fake
my
out
God.
deaths.
I'm
So
happy you brought this up.
there's a lot of fake out deaths in Invincible, which is why I struggle with. Because season 1,
Hmm.
that's brand new, fresh, whatever. We didn't know anything about it. But as you go into season 2 and season 3, a lot of characters die, but they don't die. No one dies. Somehow Palpatine came back.
What?
So for example, Rex, he dies. He actually
He
dies
does.
in
Yeah.
season 3.
Does he actually die? Are we sure?
Yeah,
Are we sure he's
in the
actually
comics, he
dead?
does die at that point. So,
Oh, seriously?
yeah.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing. That's the big death of the
Right?
season.
Right.
But it didn't hit me because I feel like I have been taught not to believe it.
Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to Invincible. There wasn't really actual stakes. There was intense moments, but it wasn't as intense as season one. There was nothing really that you could go up and like, oh my god, these are characters that are about to die. I mean, towards the end of the episode with Ass and Eve, we thought she was gonna die, but no, she comes back. So it's like
Yeah, there was no way.
there
I
was
didn't
no
believe it for
way.
a goddamn
Ugh.
second.
These
Like,
writers, they don't know
you
what they're
don't
doing.
fool me. I think it's like, yeah, episode one of Invincible. The big thing is you watch it and it's fun, and then you get the Omni-Man killing the Guardians, and you go like, "Whoa, this is real. This is different."
Why is this an 18? Oh, and then you go
Yeah,
at
exactly.
the end of the episode.
Even when you watch, because I think that there's a lot of similarities to The Boys as a more realistic, gory interpretation of heroes. Not even The Boys at that point, I don't think, had done something so intense. I remember season one felt like a massive thing, but across all three seasons, Kate's alive, Eve's alive, Rick's alive, Donald's alive, the Immortal's alive, Ray's alive, Conquest's alive. I could probably keep on going. The quote unquote deaths, I don't feel the impact anymore.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't any, because especially in the final episode, we get a big bloodbath. The guy with the electric powers, he,
Yeah. Voiced by
like,
Aaron Paul, by the way.
yes,
Yeah,
Todd
yeah.
himself. Hooray!
Hooray!
He murders his wife and child. That is brutal. But I believed that because they weren't massive characters. But when it comes to the bigger characters, they just begin to wash over me. So in this season, the Mauler twins die. That's a shame. I really like them, but I don't believe for a second that the original isn't still alive and will return.
Yeah.
He's the original, like, come on. But the big one, in my opinion, is Angstrom Levy. He's
Yes.
alive.
He's
I think
alive.
I actively have an issue with this because it makes sense how he survived.
Yeah.
They had a team of people, whatever. And I love more Sterling K. Brown. I'm not going to complain about more of my guy,
Yeah.
but his death in season two was massive impactful. It was the first time that Mark stepped over that line and murdered someone. Intentional or not, he went too far and had to face a crisis of his own humanity, his own goodness as a hero. That kind of goes throughout this season, and it's peak. I love how that sets Mark up for a dark path. He even gets a darker suit in this season, and I think that is kind of why the season feels a bit different, because he's struggling with the worst thing that a hero can. But then Angstrom Levy's like, hey, I'm back. And it's like, oh, okay, so Mark could really just rationalize it as, oh, I didn't kill him, so we're good. I know that Mark still thought he had killed him, but the fact remained that he didn't. And then they almost repeat the same moment of Mark going too far in the finale, where he quote unquote kills Conquest. But then guess who's alive at the end? Conquest. I just get tired of it. And like, yeah, I know that in comics nobody dies, but are we sure
There's no
that
permadeath. There's no
yeah.
permadeath. It's annoying. It's annoying. I get it, Tom. Don't worry. I mean,
Thank you.
Marvel and DC have done this a lot when it comes to
For
reviving their
sure.
characters.
They killed Barry Allen for like 20 years. And then we're like, you know who we need? We need the fastest man alive. And Wally
We
West, poor
need
guy.
Barry Allen.
Then there was two Wally Wests as well. So they really just like were like, Wally, you can be Kid Flash twice. Barry will be the Flash. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it gets frustrating. There wasn't really anything to go off with their character arc or something that deviates from the past about a death that could really impact them. Or us as the viewer, like, wow, that is really quite sad. So for Rex, sorry, buddy, you're gone. We don't think you're dead. You're alive somehow.
Robot or Randy or Rex now is just in a clone body of Rex and is also called Rex. I wouldn't even be surprised if he gets the Rex powers at some point. And
Yeah.
since he's in a clone body, he will eventually sound like Rex. So that's weird, but sure. I mean,
Sure.
okay, finale. This
Yes.
on IMDb, I think, is one of the highest rated TV episodes of all time. What did you think? Do you think it deserves that high standard?
Okay, well, I'm gonna list off all the things that I'm gonna think of about this. So, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he voiced as
Hell
Conqueror.
yeah.
He did an excellent job. In the comics, this fight was very good. I do say it's translated well. In the panels for that fight, it's crazy, crazy intense. So, for this to be animated, I don't think it's up there. I mean, it's great to have Conquest as this guy who's alone and talks to Mark about how alone he feels. And it's like, why is this old ass man man talking to me while fighting.
I think consistently the best part of the show is the Viltrumite stuff. Every
Yeah.
time we see a Viltrumite, it's interesting. We find out much more about them this season. Conquest as a character, very interesting, very imposing. I love how Mark still just gets his ass handed to him by another Viltrumite, but also interesting that he can defeat him. I'm very Andor brained at the moment,
Yes.
because we're so close. Don't get me started. But we have an Andor moment in this show where Alan and Omni-Man break out of prison, which is very fun on its own. But there is a specific, in Andor when Kino tells Cassian,
I
how
had
many
the same
guards?
thought,
Yeah, never
Tom.
more than
Yes.
12. We get the moment when Nolan tells Alan there are less than 50 Viltrumites left, and it's like a punch your fist, like, yes, they're finally on the same side. My favorite episode of the season might have been the one with, one half of it is Eve and Mark, kind of their relationship, and the other half is Alan and Nolan breaking out of prison.
Yeah.
That was just so much fun. And to be fair, that was in the stretch of, I think at least, that was in the stretch of the season that I found less interesting. So there was still really great stuff. I loved that episode. But in terms of the finale, I really liked it, but it's not the best TV episode of all time. It's not even the best episode of Invincible, I don't think. Like, it was good, but it wasn't as good as the season one finale. Like,
Yeah, season one
no.
finale was incredible. I was sick to my stomach when I watched that episode.
Yeah.
For this, great fight, but not as impactful as that one. So yeah, it's very weird when you see that on IMDb rated very high.
I mean, hey, that might have gone down since the episode came out. I'm just recalling something that I saw on the internet, but I like how Mark and Eve team up. I like that we get that,
Oh, she puts up more of a fight in this one.
Yeah,
I'm
she
really
really
happy because in the
does.
comics she doesn't put up much of a fight against Conquest.
Right,
She gets
interesting.
punch up.
I've heard that her character is better in this show. I
Yeah,
really
much better.
enjoy the fake out death, meh, whatever. But I just like her. I think genuinely she's my favorite character, especially after the one shot Atom Eve special. I thought that was really
Yeah,
great.
yes.
Somewhat in this season, she just kind of becomes Mark's girlfriend, and her only, real
Yeah.
thing is just to give him a pep talk, sitting on the roof at the end of an episode. But I do love the whole idea of she can create anything, but she actually needs to know architecture and how everything works, because you can't just make a building. I can't remember if it was in season 2 or season 3 where she makes all those buildings and the park that eventually is structurally unstable and just
Yeah.
collapses. That's really cool. And moving forward, I really want more from her outside of her relationship with Mark.
There's gonna be a lot more
Oh, bro's read
in the
the
future.
comics. He knows what's
Yeah,
happening. He can make
I've seen it all.
promises.
I got good news. You'll see more
Woo!
of that. Whoa.
We have season 4 confirmed, which is always good for a show like this. You end on any kind of cliffhanger, you've got more story to tell. Let's go. I'm excited for season 4. I mean, this is a very strange show. I think a lot of shows have unfortunately fallen into this category for me, which is they have been assassinated by the streaming model. You get a show where you watch it over the course of a few weeks. It's not many, how many episodes in a season of Invincible? 8. So over 6 or maybe even 5 weeks, you get this show. You might love it, but then unless you're really, really devoted, the wait time for the next season will just kill any hype. The reason we didn't do season 2 is because I just stopped caring in the 2 or 3 years it took for season 2 to come out. The animation takes a long time. The season took ages to come out. They released season 2 in 2 chunks as well.
Which
I
is
just wasn't
very
interested.
strange.
It was weird. And then we had a gap this week, and I thought, okay, let's look back at Invincible. And then coming back to it, watching season 2 for the first time, rewatching season 1, and then season 3, I was like, oh, this is actually as good, if not better than I remember. And the stuff that comes after season 1 is really great. But just simply because they took so long to make season 2, I stopped caring. And now here we are, having finally jumped back onto the bandwagon. I do think that's a thing that I see a lot in streaming. Personally, I also have stopped caring about stuff like The Boys and Stranger Things, and I don't know if I'd count Rick and Morty, but Rick and Morty also, these are things that I have
Yeah.
enjoyed a lot in the past and just kind of lost interest because of how streaming works, because it doesn't feel like it makes any impact. I feel like I watch it and then I move on and I have no
Yeah.
proper reason to continue.
Yeah, there wasn't really an impact for that. You're just like, okay, there it is. It's done and dusted. I wish there was a much better model, but this is streaming. You can't do really anything else. Like,
Yeah.
For example, Fallout, that came out in 1 week and that got a lot of word of mouth. Everybody enjoyed it. So we're getting season two soon.
But we might not even be getting season two until 2026.
Exactly.
So I do want to say it's not all bad because next week we're talking about a show that they've already filmed season two, or they are already currently filming season two, and that's coming out next year. Daredevil. That's really exciting. And
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's a bright future for a streaming show, and that is a positive. But okay, in the case of Invincible, one thing that's interesting to me is what is time in this show? Now, this one is a criticism that runs across all three seasons. I'm not sure if you
Yes.
get it in the comics as well, but my God, it feels like every season takes place across the span of about 2 weeks. And then someone will say something like, it's been 8 months since the Guardians died, or Oliver's been here for 2 months, or we've been dating for 4 months. Like, sorry, what? I don't feel that at all. I don't know what I'd suggest to fix it. Maybe we see the seasons change. Maybe there's a bit more references to seasonal holidays or, the time of year at school. And forgive me if I missed something, but I've not seen anyone else mention it. Like, what is time? How long has Nolan been gone? How long has he been in space with Alan? How long were
Yeah.
Mark and Amber split before Mark got with Eve? How long has Eve been learning architecture? How long have Debbie and Paul been together? How long was the Guardians team together before they split? I've written all these down. I spent a lot of time confused, and it makes the character progression feel a bit forced, just slightly. And like to me, Mark shouldn't have gotten over his guilt about one thing or another, because in my mind, it's all right, it's been a few days. But in actuality, it's been a year. So yeah, he really should get over that shit. And I hope they fix that. I hope that we feel more the slow crawling of time.
Just like the passage of time that we all need. I mean,
That's right.
I relate that so much for this show and for One Piece as well, because One Piece, there's no
Aha.
time. No time
Yeah.
as well. It's easy. I think you just put Monday, that's it. Just put
Yes,
Monday
there you
on a
go. Do
Tuesday.
that. In the Invincible War episode, we get day 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. And at least then okay, we're over a certain span of time, rather than it being like, yeah, the Invincibles were attacking for what seems like 2 hours, but in
Yeah.
actuality, it was 7 years. I just like, it's animation. It's difficult to make time feel real. But
Linear. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but especially when time travel becomes a factor.
Oh, it will.
Yeah, I'm sure that will continue. We mentioned this last week with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but animation is just the best way to express a comic book story, to truly translate it onto the screen. And I know that a lot of people do criticize the animation in the show, and I get it. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it rarely bothers me. I mean, I love all the designs, framing colors, the gore, the action. I really like that scene in season 2 where they wink to the audience about how difficult it is to animate a show like this and how long it takes. Like when the guy's like, yeah, no, there's all these tricks that we use, and it's
Yeah.
funny. The animation could be better, but I don't really mind it. And there is going to be a live action Invincible movie that's in development. And I just think to myself, how? Because this feels like the only way it really
Yeah.
should be done. I think you can't create the same striking imagery or expression or comic accuracy or the seamless effects. You can't do all of that the same way in live action. And when you already have a great Invincible story on screen in the form of the show, why even bother with the movie?
Yeah, I completely forgot about the movie. It just feels like there was something lingering at the back of my mind. It was like Invincible, yes. What does Invincible? Ah, yes, live action movie that we need, everybody. We talked about all the live action remakes in the past. I don't know how. I agree. Like animation, that's like key to make the show actually work, because it just feels like it's something about it that makes it feel real in animation form, but not in live action. It just feels weird. We've seen it a lot in the comics. We've seen it in animation. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's gonna be very weird.
You
Yeah.
also don't have as much time to develop things. Pretty much the movie will almost definitely be the Omni-Man mystery and all that from season 1. But how do you do that in 2 hours, 2.5 hours?
That's not
There's
going to be enough. That because
right?
season one covered a lot of things. Because season one was actually like just a few issues in the Invincible Compendium. It was like
Mm.
not that many pages, but that to me was an amazing way to expand. Because again, they do expand and they go deeper into the comics. So I think that's key to learning about adaptation, about what they're going to do. Are they going to expand or are they going to change some stuff? So for the movie, I don't know how they're going to cover cover Mark's journey and that mystery of Army Man. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Why don't you have the answers, John?
Yeah.
I think that surely for the movie they have to tone it down. They've got to take out a lot of the side characters, a lot of the extra stories. But I mean, like, largely, I know that we have criticisms, but I still very much enjoy this show.
Yeah, me too. I thoroughly enjoyed the show's story. It was just a lot of things happened. A lot of things. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what are you going to give this season out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 7.
Nice. I'm going to give it an 8. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think worthy. And next week, like I alluded to earlier, we're doing Daredevil Born Again. We're coming back to the Man Without Fear. And yeah, see if they manage to recapture that magic.
I'm excited for Daredevil. Again. Born Again.
Hey! You did it, folks.
Yes.
Yeah, you can send us an email on that as well. You can do it, John. If you send us an email, I can read out your email and it'll be a beautiful moment. Yeah, send us an email, asktimefilm@gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts on Daredevil, Born Again, and we will answer it right here in the podcast next week.
Yes, and you can follow us on Instagram at AfterTimeFilmPod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal, on Blue Sky for more thoughts from Tom, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and you can find links there all in the description below. Thanks to Jones-Meyer for the excellent theme and Ronan Phillips for vocals as always. And I think that's everything. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.